Hi! Welcome back to my channel. So, as you can see from the title, this is the 6th episode of Heartland, titled One Trick Pony. I just saw something briefly about it. Looks like Lou's boyfriend Carl is going to be moving to Chicago. So, I'm guessing she's going to have to make a decision. And of course we know she will end up staying at Heartland. You never know, she may go join him for a little bit and then return. Kind of like Ty, how he left Heartland for Briar Ridge and then was back an episode later. And obviously, we don't know how much time has passed, but obviously time does pass with this. Like I said, Lou's probably been gone from New York for a few months, if nothing else. So, you know, it's not like this is all taking place over a week. You know, obviously several months have gone by, because when the show started, it looked like Amy was in school. And now, of course, it's summertime. So, you know, if she was in school, maybe it was February, March, April, whatever, when it started, and then, of course, maybe it's July or August now. Sometimes I kind of wish that they would, on TV shows, that they would establish how much time has passed when something happens. Because like I said, because I said something about he'd been gone, Ty I think had been gone like a week or something. There was something in the last episode that I kind of caught regarding that. So obviously something happened, and so maybe he was gone a week. So like I said, sometimes I wish that they would say, you know, to have an episode be like, this is July, and then, you know, if time passes, then maybe like a week later or something, say 1 week later, just to kind of give you an idea. Because like I said, this doesn't happen day after day. You know, it's not like this day, this day, this day, this day. Obviously, time passes with these shows. And, you know, you could have one episode set in, say, July, and the next episode set in November. So it really doesn't matter. But it is nice, I think, to know when the time does pass. I think that helps the viewer, too, because then they can kind of establish, all right, obviously so much stuff obviously happened during this time, like taking care of the horses and family stuff and everything. Anyways, let's get started. Oh God.
Try to grab that one. Oh,
She's not going to grab any of them.
All right. Look at that, Gina. Nope. I need to grab it.
Oh my God, get him away from me.
Okay, hold it.
Hold him. No way.
Hold.
On me.
Just a second more.
Can you hurry up, please? She's on me. Yes.
Okay.
Aw.
Alright. Alright. Hold up.
It's not bad enough to work with geese.
Gross.
Never seen Lou get down and dirty with a goose before.
She's not really getting down and dirty. Yeah, who does?
Take a shower. On the house. Hey, Kevin. Both know this sounds fun, right? Might as well, right? Once you learn, never forget.
Amy has an idea.
Carl tries to have good ideas, but how else does he make more money? He comes up.
He says we have bed springs, so I'm trying to figure out if that was when he was on his way back or on his way there, because obviously he was figuring something out that he was calling. But at the same time, I'm also like, look, I get that it's technically Jack's house, you know, Jack's property, but I'm also like, Lou is a grown woman, you know, and putting him in the room that Ben had stayed in wouldn't have been a bad thing, you know? And he's like, well, it butts right up next to your room. It's like, doesn't necessarily mean that something would go on. If it's that big of a deal, why don't you camp outside her room? You know? And then that way when one of them leaves to go to the other room, you can stop them. So Jack is being a little ridiculous because, again, Lou is an adult, but it is really funny seeing, you know, the New York boy trying to adjust to life on a farm. And that's what I'm saying, like, I think by the end of the episode, he and Lou will probably have broken up, you know, because he's not going to be able to put up with this life and everything. And, you know, Amy asked her if she was leaving, and she said, oh, you'd like that, wouldn't you? And Amy says, not necessarily, but she didn't answer, like, so I don't know if it was that she was considering it or not considering it or what, but what a dick.
I hate the way Lou acts like the CEO of Heartland with Carl's friend.
It worked?
Of course. Verbal signals. This horse is trained to respond to verbal signals.
So you know how to make them stop. How do you make them?
Does he like it rare, medium, or well done?
What's wrong with baking a cake?
Oh, ow!
She kind of figured that was going to happen, which does not say well about her cooking.
Can I have a word with you? Mano a mano.
And, you know, it's funny because Carl is going to go ahead and he's going to pop the question, and she's going to say no, and that's basically going to be it. You know, that's how it's going to end. It was a beautiful ring, though. But, you know, he says basically that, like, her life is in Chicago, and I'm thinking, you know, he's not even really giving Heartland a chance. It was funny, when I watched Heart of Dixie, you know, you had Zoe, who adjusted to life in Bluebell, Georgia, and then at one point she left and went back to New York, and when she returned to Bluebell, Georgia, she brought her boyfriend Joel. And the thing about Joel was that he was so excited and eager to move. He was a writer, so he really could write from anywhere. But, like, he came with her, like, pretty much without any argument. And it just seemed that he really enjoyed it. I mean, he was excited to ride in a pickup truck. He had never ridden in a pickup truck. And he was excited to do it, you know? And I thought that that was great, because, you know, he could have been the New York guy who just totally hated everything. But he loved it. He loved moving to the small town, and he made a few missteps, but ended up basically becoming a Bluebellian. And, you know, it was, he embraced the change. Again, how excited he was to ride in a pickup truck. And it was nice to see. And, you know, it just shows that he was one who was willing to basically do anything. And then, of course, you have Carl here, who doesn't want that, and obviously is a city boy, New York boy, or Chicago boy, and doesn't really appreciate or understand where Lou grew up. And it kind of makes me wonder, if she did move back with him to Chicago, would he be up for her maybe wanting to come back for Christmas time? Would he come with? You know, like if she said, oh, I'm going to go home for Christmas, you know, would he come with and spend a couple days? Maybe he would, figuring it'd be all right to do that and then to leave. Or like when he would graduate, you know, maybe he'd be okay for short trips there, as long as it wasn't really anything permanent, you know. But now it's seeming like that's probably why she was fired from her job, because she got the job in Chicago, so the plot thickens a bit.
Are you in love with him? Things were different.
Doesn't matter how things are different, you're either in love with them or you're not, and if you can't answer a simple question, then obviously you're not.
That's not with the shop.
So obviously, we're going to be finding out soon, or I should say Lou's going to be finding out soon about the job offer and everything. Does make you wonder how much time Carl has been given to get her there. Maybe it was anything. I think he figured she would be wanting to go early. You know, she said, oh, there is no job in Chicago. And I think when she finds out there is one, she's still not going to take it, because I think she has basically figured that her life is there. And, you know, he was saying doing schedules and ordering supplies, you know, obviously he looks down on that. And he really shouldn't, because, you know, he has no idea what it's like to run a ranch, you know, because he's never run one. And it's going to take more than just what he thinks. But of course, Carl's the type that would never consider that or think about it, you know. He doesn't have to. So he was correct about if you fall off, you get back on. That part is correct. So was nice to see a little bit of his old training.
In my writing pad's pocket.
Where are the pants?
At home. In the laundry.
Oh, Mallory. She should have just put it. Well, we knew it was coming, that she wasn't going to accept it. There was a part of me that thought maybe she would, and then they'd go through like the rest of the season with her being engaged, and then by the end of the season, she would have ended it. You know, they could have done something like that. They could have gone that route as well. But instead, they're just doing it this way. So, you know, she's obviously found out, because Amy did say that to her, and of course she didn't listen to her, but then the wheels started turning, like when he mentioned about leave for Chicago, have the interview, then she connected the dots.
Yes, I'm still in Big Sky Country. Heading back to civilization as we speak.
So, did they officially break up? Or did she just decide to not marry him, but they're still together?
There he goes.
Good dude.
Surprised he knows how to drive a car, being a New York boy. Got the laundry out drying.
Look on the bright side, Lou. You didn't overstay his welcome.
Just now everyone can stop asking me how long he's staying.
No regrets then.
So I guess technically they did end things. You know, because just because she wasn't going to marry him doesn't always mean that couples have to break up. Maybe she's just not ready at that moment, but she would say yes later.
Thought I saw Carl on the road back there. Hang out.
Yeah. No, I guess I feel kind of bad about how things turned out.
Yeah, me too.
Not really.
Yeah, right.
Lightning bolts hits the cheek. But everybody is making love to you. For you, For you.
Careful. So as I said, I really do like this show. I've been having a lot of fun with it, you know. I love that there's horses, and I do like that horses are the focus of it, you know. With some stories, you know, it's like a ranch and they have horses, but the horses are kind of in the background. And the horses do pretty much take a starring role in this. But obviously you learn about the people too. And that's one thing that I really like with this show. You know, again, I do feel kind of bad that Lou and Carl aren't together, but you know that after a little bit of time she's going to start with Scott, and Scott will end up being the right person for them. And it was nice there at the end seeing that Ty was in there for the cake. So, you know, Jack, even though he's making Ty sleep in the barn, I've said this before, Jack does like Ty. Otherwise he wouldn't have gone to visit him there at Briar Ridge, you know? And, you know, Ty gets to eat with them, and so, and, you know, he had Ty there when he had cake. He could have easily have not invited Ty, you know? And they redid the cake basically another night. So, you know, again, he could have just made it that Ty wasn't invited. So obviously he does like Ty. I think he's hard on him because he feels he needs to be. You know, that Ty needs to learn responsibility and stuff like that. So, you know, it's nice that he does it. He needs that strict hand. And of course, Ty's going to end up appreciating it. I do think at some point there is going to be a bit of a blowout between him and Jack. He's going to get all frustrated and pissed off, and Jack is basically going to say, it's because I like you that I'm hard on you and stuff. So that will eventually happen. Might be at the end of this season, maybe it'll be a couple seasons down the road. Who knows? But yeah, so Lou and Carl, I think, are kaput. And like I said, just because she would have said no to him doesn't necessarily mean that they would have had to break up, you know? Granted, with him moving to Chicago and her living in Canada, it's going to continue to make a long-distance relationship hard, especially because he did say he loved her. And, you know, I was kind of thinking, like, did he really, or was he just saying it? I don't know. I think he meant it, though. I mean, he did decide to make the trip out there, and maybe he felt he needed to make the trip out there as like a business investment, which is what someone like him would do, you know, when he's wooing a client or something, he wines and dines them. She's not a client, but I think it was kind of working the same way. But at least he made it out, you know? So I look at that as a bonus. But, you know, it's like, I get that he wanted her to move with him, that her life was someplace else, but he really didn't ever really respect her life there at Heartland. And the thing was, even when she found out that there was a job waiting for her, she wasn't interested, you know? It's like after her job was done there in New York, she's like, you know what, I'm here, I'm staying here. Which I thought was great, you know, I like that she had pretty much accepted that it was going to be there at the Heartland Ranch. So I'm through the first 6 episodes. Like I said, I am addicted to this show now. Probably will do a couple more next week. Hopefully I'll be able to start season 2 early in the month of February. Although these videos will probably start going up in February, so by the time you watch this, it'll probably be, you know, late February or early March. So, if you liked this react, please subscribe for content and hit the like button. Leave a comment if you so desire. And go ahead and follow me on Instagram at LazyCatReactions, and follow me on TikTok where I post clips of my reacts. Special shout out, of course, to my editor, Captain Factory, because without her you would not see these videos the way they are. She is excellent. If you are watching this on YouTube, this is probably the edited version, so you can head over to my Rumble page for the complete reaction. And if you are watching this on Rumble, you can head over to YouTube for the edited reaction and see what's different, you know? One isn't necessarily better than the other, but, you know, you can see either of them that way. To quote Charlotte Dobre, subscribe! And I will see you in my next video. Bye.